What's up, everybody? It's your favorite party dude's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Heat Boys' Michelangelo. This is their follow-up piece to their Leonardo that we looked at last year and ended up being my figure of the year. Leonardo was all known to me from Jisk, one of the dummies you may know, and so is the Michelangelo. And I'd love to sit here and have pleasantries for minutes upon minutes upon minutes of jabber jawing, but this guy has a ton of accessories that we have to go through and figure out. It's going to be a long day for me, hopefully a moderate length video for you, but in order to find out any of those answers, we have to start, and in order to start, we need to start with accessories. So we'll start with the shell. It's beautifully decoed, as you would expect. We have the brown and the two shades of brown, really, New York PD, Tampo, or pad printed paint. I love New York on the other side. A couple of little symbols, the gold metallic paint. The shell actually bends, so you can kind of keep the nuance when he does his ab crunch, but then also this piece comes up. You have this little section inside here with the silver tank, the yellow warning stripes, some more pad printed paint, 03 TMNT. This bit spins around where you can insert one of your pilots into the chair there. You got a translucent green. He has a standing position and then a sitting position. I'm not going to cut these off the sprue. And then you have the more gray plastic versions as well. So that's all very, very cool. And of course that will plug in to his back. Real quick, I forgot to mention the rest of these sprues go to like a Build-A-Figure gimmick of building the turtle van. You have a translucent option and a gray plastic option, and other pieces came with the other turtles and will continue to come with future turtles. So he comes with a piece of pizza, and it's used to activate the electronics. I'll show that here in a second, but otherwise it just is a little translucent piece of pizza that he can hold with tension. He comes with a visor, if you'd like. It has just a orange translucent plastic. And there's two notches on the white sections of the mask that there are two pegs that the visor will fit into to utilize. Gimmicks-wise, he does have electronics underneath this shell piece here, and if you take your pizza and supposedly put it close, it will light up, but the batteries are not installed in the head itself. But the eyes are painted, which is nice. He comes with a pair of headphones. They're cool enough. You got a gray, green, silver, orange, two shades of orange paint on them, as well as some pad printed paint up top. And they'll just sit over top of his head. No problem. Looks great. Of course, he comes with two sets of nunchucks. They're painted extremely well, once again, with the orange, silver, and gray, as well as some pad printed paint and a real chain, which you know I love, to connect the two. He has a tab in the palm of his hand, and there's a port on the nunchuck itself, and it's at an angle, which is a nice touch, and he'll hold it just fine. Or you can utilize this adapter here of black plastic and connect the two ends of the chucks in and peg it in to stow on the side of his hip or his belt there. Whoa, and I'll try to get that for you. And there's a port on the opposite side as well. There's ports all over this guy. Let me see, there's one in here somewhere. You take this gold piece off. There's a port there. You can take this piece off of the side of his leg, and there's a port there. I'm going to put it back on so I don't lose it. And obviously there's ports on the side of his shell as well. Now you also have this armature. It's die-cast metal, and I put this on backwards. But these two plastic pieces, and they're actually kind of a pain to get on here, which is why I was trying to do it beforehand. But as you can see, I got one on. I'll put the other one on. We'll regroup. Then you take the shell and you remove the top piece of the shell. And then you insert this flat section down into the part you just removed from the shell so that you have the two armatures out. Which will bring us to these guns. And you have two of them. And it's decoed out the wazoo. We got orange, we got this like blue-gray, some Tampo paint. This stuff here in the middle spins. Silver paint there on the ends with the orange circle. We got a little metallic green in the kind of visor there. And then you have these ports. And they will connect to the armatures that we just installed onto the shell. But why stop arming him up there? You got these two missile pods, right? They're decoed the same way with the kind of blue-gray, once again with the orange accent, and then even this sliding mechanism here, which I believe you can use to actually fire the missiles. So speaking of the missiles, you get 6 red plastic missiles that you can put in here on both sides, obviously, and they actually tab into the back, and then you can manipulate these forward or back, which is pretty cool. How do you install those? Well, I'm glad you asked. So you get 2 of these little small adapters, and you just put one in to the missile pods, and you can connect that into the side of his calves. But you know what's better than 1 set of missile pods? You guessed it. 2 sets of missile pods, decoed very similarly to the first. We have some pad printed paint there, and these doors open up to reveal yet more missiles. These are all in there already. You also notice in your box it comes with these armatures that are part plastic, part die cast, I believe, and you can just insert the missile pod onto there and insert the missile pod on to the shell. Bit of a tight fit, but there it is. He comes with these 2 things, which are like torpedoes, which I actually think is kind of in the true fun spirit of Turtles. Like the old Turtle toy line would have like insanely wacky weapons. We'll look at one. Orange and white deco with the silver accents, and then we have the TMNT 03 Mikey bit there. We have these bits which come up, you know, for an even more kind of intense look. And all that stuff is cool to me, man. Now, on that adapter that we put in his shell, they can go onto that, so you can have him like mounted looking over his shoulder. Or you can introduce this adapter, which has a couple little Tampo paints on it, otherwise just the gray. And you can insert this in one of 2 ways here. One and then 2. Right, and then the question is, how do we get this on his arm? So you have 2 adapters left that you haven't used. The one has a handle, set that one to the side. One looks like it has an actual guard on it, like a protective guard. Use that to plug into the forearm cover that we removed. And then take your other one, stick that in his hand, and then line up the 2 pegs so that they are in line with one another. And tab in your mount here. You know, and then he has it kind of on his arm, and he has his hand on the little trigger there, which is pretty cool. And then his last weapon is this kind of like double-barreled Gatling gun, which also has a battery feature that I'm guessing makes it spin and perhaps make sounds, but the batteries are not included. 2 shades of green, all sorts of Tampo paint added on, silvers, warning stripes put on, 2 drums of ammunition. A really kind of intimidating weapon, arguably a bit much, to be honest, in my opinion, for Turtles, but there it is. This mounts to the other arm in the same way using the other 2 adapters. So in the end, it looks something like that. At the end, during the pictures, I'll have a post picture of it kind of all armored up. And last but not least, he comes with a stand. It's very nice, has the Turtles bit on there. That's all sculpted and then painted. The cover to this actually comes off, and you can store the accessories in there, which is thoughtful. I dig stuff like that. I had a hard time getting this on before, so I was a little reluctant to show you there. And then you get 2 different support stands. One if you want to have him jumping, and one if you want to have him standing. And they actually screw in to the base, which is nice. And then you just angle your port here. Come around to the back side of Michelangelo, you'll find a copper piece. Remove the copper piece and insert the stand, and you're in service. All right, let's take a look at the figure, and we'll start with the head sculpt for Dennis, and we'll get in tight on it for the same individual. So it's really well done. We have multiple shades of green, right? We have this medium shade and then the darker shade, silver accents. The orange is in 2 shades, as well as a white highlight there, gold on the middle. The eyes are painted white, and the eyes have a light up effect, so they're not dead. Very well done. That's the kind of stuff I like to see. He has dreadlocks with cables that are an interesting choice, and we have the green and yellow and red sort of bands on some of them. The head is on a ball peg. The head actually comes separate in the packaging. You have to put it on yourself. But the neck also moves up in an accordion style that gets you some good articulation up, full articulation down, swivel, and confused Michelangelo face. All right, let's take a look at the torso. We'll back out just a taste. Once again, looks good. We have the yellow and then the beige, or yellow. It's more of a muted yellow, and the beige, and then a couple yellow accents, a couple orange accents, pad printed paint throughout. The red missiles are painted. All of that stuff looks good. 2 shades of green on the side. You do get an ab crunch. I feel like you could get a little bit more out of it, but I'm not pushing it. I'm going to take one quick look at the instructions here just to make sure I'm not doing anything or overlooking anything. And yeah, I mean, I feel like they show it having a more extreme angle. So let me try to move this piece up and then see if I can, yeah, and there's your ab crunch. And that's what I was kind of looking for. All right, cool. So that works well. You get a teapot motion as well, and you get a swivel. Swivel's a little limited, but there is one there. It's just not the most extreme. And my shell fell off. I'm just going to keep it off for the duration while we look at the figure. Back out now a bit. All right, so we have the pelvis. You had the gold paint with the M there for Michelangelo. We have all sorts of ports, obviously, we've already talked about. Silver and orange accents on the back, the copper accent there. We have universals for hips that get you the full Van Damme. Forward and back for the full Monty. And now we'll finish up the arms. So the arms are actually where some of my complaints are. Deco-wise, beautiful. We have a lighter shade of green being introduced into the piece, and then we have the one-way with the caution stripes, some red, orange accents rather, the 03 Mikey on the back. The shoulder pad is connected to the shoulder and not to the chest, which is my preference. And the shoulder pad does articulate up for you to articulate the arm up past 90 degrees, so that's nice. And then you get the full 360 around. You get a butterfly joint that swings out. And then you can cover back down. I'll tell you what my criticisms are here, and that is some of the joints here are a little tight. I'm sure they'll loosen up over time, but they're a little tight right out of the box. So pad printed paint there on the green looks nice. Double jointed elbows that get you the full range. Almost, no, just above 90 degrees. You have the piston that moves here in the back. Love little stuff like that. You have the 2 shades of orange. The wrist swivel. Hinge in, out. Pretty nice stuff. The fingers individually articulated. We have a ball joint at the base and then a secondary and tertiary hinge for the thumb. And then the same goes for the second digits and third digits as well. Really nice. All right, we'll continue. So thigh swivel. Ooh, once again, it's there, but it's really tight. I'm sure it'll loosen up over time. It's already loosening up a bit as I'm manipulating it. Pad printed paint there on the thigh. Double jointed knee. The knee pad bends with it, articulates with it. Really nice stuff. The 2 shades of green, 3 shades of green being introduced onto the lower leg. Looks good. Orange and gray accents. Pad printed paint on the knees. The knee pads look great. Really, really, really well done, man. The ankles, we get an ankle tilt up slightly, a toe tilt up even more, a QC pass. Oh my. Look at that. Look at that. I'm going to get a picture of that and send it to Jisk. I wonder if he knows about that. They're aware. Huh. And then bit of an ankle tilt down and an ankle rocker. So, I mean, really, I mean, once again, it's an elite figure. I'm not quite sure it feels as polished as the Leonardo. But it's certainly, I mean, honestly, it's still one of the best things I've looked at this year. If not the best. I'm not sure it's the best, but it's one of top 5 probably, and not number 5, if you know what I mean. Size comparison wise, I don't have anything that necessarily makes sense to show him with. So there he is with the 6-inch Marvel Legend and a Hasbro Seeker. Probably not enough for a DTOF, but I think with moderate posing, you can't go too dynamic on the posing, but with moderate posing and some risers, you could probably get all 4 of these when they were out into a DTOF. But they are heavy, so I might shoot for the bottom row because they're not quite big enough to occupy the DTOF on their own, but 4 might be too many, but I think it might be possible. He is 9 inches tall, to give you a more conclusive idea. Hopefully that should help. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negative. This one has a couple little fit and finish issues. Anytime that you got to connect a plastic piece to a die cast piece, it ends up giving you a little bit of trouble. Like there's adapters on the backpack that are holding his guns right now, as well as the armatures that connect the rockets going into the side of his shell. I think that's also the same issue with the biceps being too tight around the die cast shoulder mounts, the universals. And I also wish there was more of a waist swivel. That may have been a problem with the Leonardo as well. I can't recall now. My only other criticism is just that I'm not sure if this one finds the character in the same way that the Leonardo one does. Like, I think the amount of like guns and heavy artillery here is like, I just feel like it's a little off base. I like the idea of the torpedoes, and I like the headset, like the earphones and the visor and all that. Like, I kind of feel like that's in tune with the character, but just like all the like firing rockets and all that stuff, I'm like, man, this feels like they missed it a little bit. Not that it doesn't work. It all works. It just feels like they didn't quite understand or personify the character. It seems a little weird with all this like heavy artillery. It doesn't seem like they quite get it. I know that's a weird criticism, but it is one. Moving on to the positives, I mean, where do you start, right? It has a ton of accessories. They all present at least an interesting look, if not a look that I feel isn't 100% in tune with the character. It's painted and sculpted to just an amazing degree. The way that they've incorporated the accessories into like every little nook and cranny of the figure possible. I love like the missiles and stuff like that. The majority of the articulation works amazingly. It's just got that one waist swivel that feels a little short. Comes with a display stand that can also house all your accessories. I love stuff like that. Has the electronics, the light up gimmicks without sacrificing any of the aesthetics. The materials feel amazing. The build is like 80% there. Just a couple spots a little tight. It's an elite premium piece, man. Everything about it suggests as such. So it's still, even despite any criticisms I have, it's still a strong recommend from me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.